Today is June 17th, 2026. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life. This is Pro-Life Week. Well, today's program, actually most of the things I'm going to be talking about today have to do with chemical or medication, abortion, mifepristone and misoprostol, the two abortion pills that now account for probably 63 to 65% of all abortions in America. They're not done in surgical centers like Planned Parenthood. They're done in your home, so to speak, with these abortion pills. It's not surgical anymore, it's chemical. Okay, first story. And I'm getting most of these from lifenews.com. This month, the We Count project by the Society of Family Planning. So, Family Plan, this is a pro-abortion organization. They've released final abortion estimates for calendar year 2025. Unfortunately, the news is not particularly good for pro-lifers. The Society of Family Planning estimates that 1,126,760 abortions took place in calendar year 2025. Now, if you think about the long-range issue of abortion, when it first started, back in the early 70s, you had 400,000 or 500,000 per year, and that really grew quite quickly. And it was over 1 million abortions a year. I think around 1990, it peaked at 1.6 million abortions per year. But then it plateaued, and that number slowly began to decrease. And eventually, in the early 2000s, it was down to about 800,000. Which is still a staggering number. Don't get me wrong, it's still a horrible number, but it was half of what it was back in 1990. But then, with the advent of chemical abortions, that number began to tick up again. And it really has escalated in recent years, especially after the 2022 Dobbs decision. Okay, so let me keep going here. 1.26 thousand abortions. This represents a 1.6% increase from 2024. Overall, the Society of Family Planning numbers are broadly consistent with the numbers released by the Guttmacher Institute, which is kind of like a research arm, at least it used to be a research arm of Planned Parenthood. So they're kind of agreeing with the numbers. Unsurprisingly, the figures show that telehealth abortions are playing a large role in this abortion increase. So what is telehealth medicine? And I've talked before about this whole issue that deals with chemical abortions. Telehealth medicine is when a woman basically sits in front of her computer screen on a Zoom call with a doctor in a faraway state, and he will evaluate you whether or not you should become a recipient of these two abortion pills. And then he will prescribe the pills, and they will come in the mail or by some kind of special courier. But it's done like a Zoom call. The doctor is not actually physically looking at you and checking to see if you're pregnant, how many weeks gestation you are, your health. None of that. It's all done over your computer screen, which is so dangerous. Okay. According to calendar year 2025, 28% of all abortions took place by telehealth. Now remember, 63% or 65% of all abortions are chemical abortions. And a third of them, maybe almost just more than a quarter of them, are done by this fake doctor, this telehealth over a Zoom call. The others are done in person with a doctor. But 28% are done over these Zoom calls. In comparison, only 13% of abortions were done by telehealth 3 years ago, and only 22% were done by telehealth in 2024. Since many women residing in states with strong pro-life laws are obtaining abortions via telehealth, these abortions are undermining many pro-life laws that were passed since the Dobbs decision. A recent Lozier Institute, that's a pro-life group, a report shows that these telehealth abortions are largely unregulated. Well, isn't that true? Majorities of entities that administer telehealth abortions within FDA guidelines do not check the gestational age of the child, the age of the pregnant woman, or do a follow-up. This is an important public health concern. The Trump administration's FDA need not wait for the completion of a study to halt or prohibit telehealth abortions. Okay. Republicans are calling on federal authorities to impose stringent regulations on the abortion drug mifepristone, citing the dangers posed by the drug's largely unregulated use of Americans' drinking water. Now, this is new. A coalition of 15 Republican-led state attorneys general is urging the Environmental Protection Agency to add mifepristone to the agency's containment candidate list, which would likely trigger safety studies and to potentially stricter regulations under the Safe Drinking Water Act. Apparently, people are flushing some of these pills down the toilet, and it gets into the water source. And it sounds like it's a dangerous thing because there's a lot of chemicals in mifepristone that are really unsafe for the general public. I mean, obviously they're unsafe for the unborn baby, but it's now, apparently, it's now, at least in some states, it's possibly in the drinking water, which could be very harmful for women who are pregnant, who are planning to have a baby, and all of a sudden they're now drinking this water that is tainted with traces of mifepristone. So how is that going to affect her pregnancy? We don't know. Okay. These next two stories are very disturbing. An Illinois man has been sentenced to 7 years in prison after pleading guilty in a case involving the non-consensual administration of abortion drugs that resulted in the loss of an unborn child. Emerson Evans, age 32, of Normal, Illinois, pleaded guilty to manslaughter of the death of an unborn child as part of an agreement with prosecutors. According to court records, Evans was accused of administering abortion drugs to his pregnant girlfriend without her knowledge or consent, causing a miscarriage. The case is among a growing number of reported incidents nationwide involving abortion drugs allegedly being used against women without their consent. As abortion drugs have become increasingly available through online distribution, mail order services, and other channels, reports of coercion, deception, and criminal misuse have continued to emerge, prompting efforts to document and track such cases. Now here's the last story. Similar. According to reports from the Carenco, Louisiana Police Department, and confirmed by local news outlet KATC, Jamel Kelly, age 39, has been charged with attempted first-degree feticide and domestic abuse and battery of a pregnant victim, both felonies, after allegedly giving his pregnant 17-year-old daughter, let that sink in, abortion drugs without her knowledge. The teenager became ill and was rushed to the hospital where doctors performed an emergency cesarean section. Her baby was born at just 23 weeks gestation, weighing approximately 1 pound. As of June 12th of this year, the day the investigators made the charges public, the tiny baby is in the NICU unit fighting for life. The investigation is ongoing, and not all the facts have been established in court. But what has been charged is serious enough to shake anyone who cares about women, children, and human dignity. And one thing, too, when mifepristone and misoprostol were approved by the FDA back in 1999 or 2000, they were approved for the first 7 weeks of pregnancy. During the Biden years, the FDA increased or relaxed the drug to be used in the first 10 weeks of pregnancy. Well, this father gave mifepristone to his 17-year-old daughter, in which she delivers this baby. It's 23 weeks gestation. That's a viable baby. 23 weeks. Even the FDA says you can't do it after 10 weeks. I mean, that is so criminal. And here again, it's done without the woman's consent. This drug, these two drugs, mifepristone and misoprostol, they are dangerous, and they are being used by men to coerce women into having abortions, whether if the pregnancy was due to rape or incest or whatever. These things are happening more and more, and the federal government needs to step in, and the courts need to step in and really take a look at these two drugs. They are harmful to women. They're deadly to babies. And like it says here, if you care about women, children, and human dignity, this chemical abortion must stop. With that, I'll let you go, and I'll see you next time.